Hello, and welcome to my first quarter review of my reading bullet journal. At the start of the year, I did a comparison video between an Archer and Olive and a notebook therapy. I chose the Archer and Olive for my reading journal, and so I just kind of wanted to share how I've been using my reading bullet journal and how it's been working and maybe not. So the first thing to note is this came with 2 ribbons, and mysteriously the ribbon that has the Archer and Olive logo on it ended up just coming out of it. I didn't pull on it, and again, it's a reading journal, so it's not like I use it every single day, but this has come out. I may try to adhese it back on, but needless to say, I'm bummed about that. The pen I use in this is just really simple. It's a Uniball Jetstream, and it's a .38. I really love a fine pen, and it works perfectly. So I haven't gotten very far in my index. I've at least marked the first 3 months of the first 3 pages. I will continue to update this as the year progresses, but for now, that's as far as I've gotten. So the beginning of the bullet journal is just a monthly view for all 12 months with just a month on 2 pages. So January's got 2 pages, February, March, etc. This is the place that I will just keep sticky notes of books that I want to read during that time. I am a seasonal reader, and so this pays homage to that. So for January 2023, I already have a list started of books that I want to make sure that I read. Same for February. I've chosen some really thick books. I'm just going to get really thick books and stay hunkered down. We tend to get snow in February. March, I don't have any on the list at this point, and April is just beginning, and so I have a couple, and I will be finalizing that in the next couple of days. And then I just have tabs for each month that's coming. The one that's really full is October. Again, I'm such a seasonal reader, and the fall is my favorite time to read that autumnal aesthetic dark academia books. So here on page 13, I have my specialty reading lists. I have my Elizabeth Goudge tracker. I have been able to check one off. I will move on down the list in April. So this is just where I'm tracking the ones that I own as well as the ones that I've just read. I have my authors to read list, just so that I don't drop the ball on forgetting that. And then here are the readathons that I am doing and have done. So middle grade March is in the books. I did the backlist readathon as well, and I will link all of the channels below that those are originated from. And then I am continuing through the Hey Reader, Read Your Bookshelf from Chantel at Chantel Reads All Day. She has a prompt for every month, and so I have that written in there, and I'm just tracking that as well. New releases, I just did a video on my anticipated for Q2. This is a theme reading project that I'm doing, which is reading books that are bookshop and library themed books. So that was just a collections list that I started. This is just miscellaneous. It doesn't really fit into any of the special list categories or even the monthly seasonal category. It's just a book that I've heard about and read about that I am interested in reading, and I don't want to lose that. So here at the first seam, this is where I get into tracking what I've actually read. So I have this key here with the genres and then how I want to write it. And I will say, I have not been doing star ratings. I feel like I'm really fickle with star ratings. I can finish a book and think, oh, I hated that. That's only a whatever star. But then as I think more about it, if I find myself really coming back to it, I can start to think about, well, maybe it was a higher rating, and I can do the same in reverse. And in that vein of feeling really fickle about my star ratings, I use a highlighter to mark my favorites that's erasable, and pens to mark what I think my kids want to read, also with erasable. These are all erasable highlighters and markers, so that at any point in my coding, I can change my mind and erase it. So here's the sticky that I originally had in the January section. I moved it to here because this was the 2022 area. These are the books that I read by author, the genre of them, like historical fiction or coming of age or mystery or fantasy, short story, and then I put these in category of middle grade, adult, and YA. And then I marked on the side whether they were ones that I thought my kids would want to read because I want to track that as well. At the very back, I have a section where I'm just saying for 2022 of the middle grade, YA, and adult category, what percentage of books have I read in those categories? Whatever is here gets translated here. At least have multiple years here to kind of track that category. If I want to track more, I certainly can do that, but for now, that's all I'm tracking. So in January, I read 12 books. And I just highlighted one that I thought was close to a 5-star rating, one that I really can agree with. Yes, that was a favorite. So Winter Palace by Eve Stechniak is a historical fiction about Russia before and during the 7 Years' War, which here in the United States we call it the French and Indian War. And it is about Catherine the Great and all of the craziness that goes on in the Russian court. I really enjoyed it. For February, I had a much better reading month. This again is February 2022. And so I moved this from the earlier February section into here just to track what it is that I wanted to read. And then this is what I actually read, name of the book, author, category, and then whether it's adult, middle grade, or young adult. And then here in February, I tracked it there as well. And I can just kind of see a lot of adult books in February. And I read 20 books total. My favorites in that month, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, is the story of a young girl who makes a Faustian bargain to have anonymity and no one remembers her in exchange for not living a life that she is forced to live and also not dying, and how that choice affects her forever. Legendborn is a King Arthur retelling with what I would call high fantasy. And it's phenomenal. I loved it so much. I will pre-order the next one. The Middle Window by Elizabeth Goudge. This is set in Scotland, and it is the story of a woman coming into her own, and there's also romance and magic. I will say there are some fantasy aspects to most, if not all, of the books of Elizabeth Goudge that I've read. And then for March, this is the month that I was like, oh my, maybe I have too much space in between listing out my books. This is a record for me. I don't think I've ever read 28 books in a month in my life, but middle grade March really helped with that. So I read 28 books and 24 of them were middle grade. So really caught up on the middle grade there. And my favorites were Stand on the Sky by Erin Bow. This is about a girl who lives in the Mongolian steppes who ends up with a golden eagle, and despite the fact that traditionally girls are not eagle huntresses, her family allows her and encourages her to train for that and compete. It is so phenomenal. I loved it so much. Miracles on Maple Hill. This is such a sweet story. It is about a father who returns from war. He has PTSD, and so the family moves to the country to try to help heal him. And it is like the Vermont countryside. It's such a great winter read. It talks about making, obviously, maple syrup and the community and family bonding, and just such a sweet, it just feels really old-fashioned and beautiful. Daughter of the Moon Goddess, high fantasy, young adult, the love triangle trope, and I mean the descriptions of the food and the clothes and the tea and the magic and the dialogue. I loved all of it. Lightfall, I've described it in so many of my videos, but it is a graphic novel that was recommended by Chantal at Chantal Reads All Day. I love the artwork in it, and the story is just compelling and plot driven, and the second one is coming out here soon and I will be pre-ordering that as well. The Personal Librarian is a phenomenal audiobook, and it is the story of Belle DaCosta Green. She was an African American who was passing as white at the turn of the century in the 1900s, who was the personal librarian for J.P. Morgan of J.P. Morgan financial fame. And her story is so intriguing, and I think the writers did a really great job with the research on it, and I loved it. 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Hanff, and this is also a movie from 1987. It seems like the movie follows the book really closely, so I don't know if there's really much. I mean, watching Anthony Hopkins is worth it, I think, but the book was so funny, and that one is so thin, but it was hilarious. Made me laugh out loud. And then Out of My Mind and Out of My Heart are two books by Sharon Draper that follow the same character who has cerebral palsy, and I loved both of them so much. I will say Out of My Mind, in my opinion, hits a lot harder of a punch for what people with disabilities are feeling and facing. And Out of My Heart is just such a sweet story of a girl with a disability wanting to find relationship and experience in life. And my 12-year-old read it and adored it. So those were my 7 to 8 books that month that were 5-star reads for me, which is, again, phenomenal. I read so many. I started out the month and I thought, oh, I'm not really finding a lot that I love, but then I really hit my stride on really enjoying them. And then I will have April, and so I will take what is listed here into April, and we'll start tracking them. So I really think that this is working for me. I'm enjoying doing it. I know some people have reviews and they cut out the covers of the book, and I just can't get my act together enough to do that. But this is really working well. I'm able to mark the ones that I want to make sure that my kids read. I'm marking ones that we are reading together, either as a family or my kids and I during homeschool. So I'm really enjoying doing this. I can't give you a review on bleed through or anything because I'm using a lot of stickies and just a regular 0.38 pen. But so far, I'm really liking my setup. I know to a lot of people having it split out where you've got the front TBR wish list and the bulk of it being what you've read and then the back kind of being your data may feel a little bit disjointed, but it is working really well for me, other than the fact that my ribbon came out. So you'll have to let me know if there's anything that I have shared that I read that you think should be higher rated, or some of the ones that I love that you think should be lower rated, what your thoughts are on my bullet journal, and any ideas. I'm always open to hearing new ideas. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time.